Thank you so much for watching this clip of the Fitz Take podcast. Be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. And remember, every episode of the Fitz Take podcast will air right here on the YouTube channel every Monday at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. As LSU opens the season with an L. The beginning L that is in LSU. They start with it out in Vegas against the USC Trojans, falling 27-20. That would be the final of that contest. Miller Moss, the quarterback for USC, was absolutely phenomenal. He threw for 378 yards. He completed 27 of his 36 passes. He only threw one touchdown, but he was efficient in the way that he played. Brian Kelly, as a head coach, is 0-3 as a LSU head coach in season openers. LSU is now 0-5 within the last few seasons in season openers. The last time that's happened was from 91 to 95. Elijah, we talked about this potentially being a, medium to high scoring game. I think our predictions weren't too far off, but they were in the opposite direction. So what do you say about USC getting the upset against LSU?
I wasn't expected. I mean, we both had LSU winning, but I didn't expect a lot of things. I didn't expect this to be a defensive battle. I felt like this was more of a defensive battle than an offensive battle. Um, Again, man, with LSU, I just think they hurt themselves a lot more. I think they were. I don't want to say they were the better team because the better team won. I mean, you know how that goes, but they just not. They just hurt themselves. Penalties. They got a big stop, and then Major Burns takes off his helmet, and that puts them back instead of having good field position after that fourth down. And then with the illegal formation between Kyron and Williams, these two guys it's just knocking themselves out of the loop, man. And that's LSU's not out of the playoff race. So by far, this the first game of the season. But again, it's just what I respect about it is LSU plays top tier talent first game of the season. It's just that it bites them in the butt sometimes because you're playing against those top teams. You have to limit your mistakes, and back to back, well, 3 straight years, they didn't limit their mistakes and they fell short because of it.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the penalties were a big thing, and just kind of the emotional fortitude that you need to have, the composure that you need to hold for yourself when you're playing these games. Obviously Kyron, he scored a touchdown. That video is viral everywhere of, he celebrated and he does the little gun point signal and everything like that. And I get it, man. You in your zone, you feeling it and all that stuff. But he knows just as well as anybody else that sometimes there are certain things that you just can't do, because then that sets you up where I believe USC got either a field goal off of that or they got good field position, one of the two. That something came of that in that situation. Every time that you do that, you're putting up a 50-50 chance of putting your team in a bad position. But also, I just felt like the team didn't slam the door when they had opportunities to close the game out. They go into I believe it was the third quarter, and I think it was after Aaron Anderson scored a touchdown. I think they had the lead then, and you're just not able to shut the door completely. We mentioned about how Kyron Lacey needed to have a big game. He had it in the first half, but then there in the second half, he only got 2 targets. Just like in the early parts of the game, he was a part of the game plan. He was getting the football because USC was playing a lot of off coverage to start off, but he was running a lot of just hitch routes, quick slants and things like that, and just getting out in space and making plays happen. What happened to him? Just as much as you needed to balance things out and run the football, you take what the defense gives you. If they're going to give you an opportunity, that if they're playing 10 to 15 yards off your receiver, tell that man to run a quick hitch, let him get out in space. I think Garrett Nussmeier played just about as well as he possibly could as a quarterback. Probably the only mistake that he truly made or miscue that he had was the little flat route that they had to Aaron Anderson that he missed out on there late in the fourth quarter, and he wasn't able to connect it to him. But that's a hard throw to make. You got a fast receiver flaring out to the sidelines. You don't want to put too much air under it because now the defender can come and pick it off. You don't want to throw it right on him because then it makes it harder for him to catch it. So he was trying to almost throw it back on his inside to where he can spin around and catch it upfield, and that's a hard thing to make. So that probably was one of the only things that he really truly messed up on in terms of situation. I thought that he was methodical in the way that he ran the offense. I thought he didn't make a whole lot of mistakes. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is not a moment to overreact for this team, none whatsoever. But I do think that when they look back on it, they're gonna be like, "Dang, this is one that we could have possibly had. We could have wished we had this back." Now, when you look at the defensive side of the ball, there were moments when they played well. They held USC in the spots that they needed to, but overall, on that last drive, that 2-minute drive to kind of close the game out, what did you think really happened for the defense there in that situation?
I think honestly, I just think they got fatigued. I'm gonna keep it honest with you. I really think they got fatigued because they were playing to their keys. They was stopping them in short downs and distances and things of that nature. I just think they got fatigued, man. That's what I really think that happened. Because I think the defense actually played as well as they could, man. I mean, you give a couple penalties up. I mean, that's for granted. Both sides were, especially with the young corners that LSU had. I thought they played very well. I just think they just got fatigued, man. I just think that it was just too much on those young guys' shoulders, and they just couldn't beat themselves out of the penalties. But defensively, I got to tip my hat off to it. I thought the Tigers played well in spots. The defensive lineman was batting down balls. The linebackers was doing well. The secondary played as well as they could. That's all it is, man.
Yeah. How much of this is not necessarily going to be a hindrance to them, but when they look back on their resume, obviously with having more teams available in the college football playoffs with 12, do you think this will be a blemish on their resume when they look back? Because, what do you think it will become of this? And when you look back on the back half of the season?
Tough. You would think that back in the old days, I would say yeah. But now, because everybody has to play everybody, and the SEC is tough as it is, because LSU still got to play Texas, LSU still got to play Ole Miss, LSU still got to play Alabama. So at the end of the day, they still have to play tough teams. So it doesn't really affect them to me as much. I think this was just big for USC because I know USC is already at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to rankings right now. I think it was a bigger win for them than a bigger loss for LSU. So again, I just think that LSU can bounce back from this, but it just hurts because it's not like they weren't in this ball game and they hurt themselves today. So, what about you, man? Do you think that I don't know if you think this, but is it end all be all for LSU?
No, absolutely not. I mean, the season is long. You got 11 more games ahead of you. Like you said, they're playing the SEC, so they're going to play more top 25 teams. But what's going to be important is just that when you don't get off to a great start, is always about the bounce back. Obviously the next couple of games that they got, they play Nichols and then they go right into playing an SEC team and then UCLA. So you have an opportunity to kind of lick your wounds a little bit and salvage things and get back in the win column when you play Nichols at home. So you'll feel good about that with a home opener. But then from there, you got to start taking care of business and you got to get back on track because as you go through the middle part of the season, you got Ole Miss, you got Texas A&M, you got Alabama, Florida on the back half, a Vanderbilt team that got an upset victory not too long ago, so there's no telling what that'll turn into. And then you close the season out against Oklahoma. So right now, this loss is going to hurt them a lot. They're feeling some type of way right now, I'm sure. But ultimately, what they just need to do is just clean up the mistakes that they made, realize that they can't have penalties. They can't shoot themselves in the foot. They have to get better at running the football. They had a lot of moments where John Emery pops off a few runs. Josh Williams popped off a few runs. You have to gain that running game consistently because Garrett, as well as he can throw the football, if he can have a run game to complement with what he's doing, the play action passes are going to open up. And then that you kind of opens up your playbook even more so there in the future. So like we said, LSU will come back home and host Nicholls State there on Saturday, September the 7th. It'll be a 6:30 kickoff. It'll be on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. And we'll see if the Tigers can be able to bounce back from this week one loss. Thank you so much for watching this clip of the Fitz Take podcast. Be sure to like this video and also subscribe to the YouTube channel and also Follow me and Elijah on our social media platforms. They will be linked down in the description. And remember, every episode of the Fitz Take podcast will air right here on the YouTube channel every Monday at 2 p.m. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.